Welcome back. Turning to a very busy day on Capitol Hill, the House foreign aid package took another step toward President Biden's desk, and Speaker Johnson's grip over his Republican conference and the Speaker's gavel has never been more tenuous. On the rare strength of Democratic votes, the House moved to advance debate on the Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and aid bills earlier today. In fact, more Democrats backed the measure than Republicans. Speaker Johnson spoke about his strategy after the vote.
Even though it's not the perfect legislation, it's not the legislation that we would write if Republicans were in charge of both the House, the Senate, and the White House. This is the best possible product that we can get under these circumstances to take care of these really important obligations. And so we look forward to the vote tomorrow. We look forward to every member voting their conscience and their desire. And that is exactly how this process is supposed to work and how the House is supposed to operate.
Now, as a result, the group of Republicans looking to oust the Speaker grew to 3 today, with Arizona's Paul Gosar joining Marjorie Taylor Greene's effort to trigger a motion to vacate the chair. For Johnson to save his job, it may take Democratic support to bail him out. Joining me now from Capitol Hill is NBC's Ryan Nobles. He's been all over this story. Let's start with that piece of it. Ryan, just how much jeopardy is the Speaker in?
I think he's in quite a bit of jeopardy, Kristen, and I think the path forward for him is bleak under any circumstances. The issue for Speaker Johnson is not that the vast majority of his conference supports him, and that's an absolute truth. 220, maybe 219 House Republicans are supportive of the Speaker, but it only takes a handful of them to boot him from office, and that's what's complicated the situation for him, because if this motion to vacate becomes a privilege motion, which means that they actually have to vote on it, there likely is enough Republicans to boot him out if every single Democrat joins them. So he'll have to need a handful of Democrats to cross party lines to either vote to table the motion or outright vote to keep him in the speakership. And that's a difficult proposition for him going forward, because he essentially becomes the leader of a coalition government at that point. And that's not something that will inspire confidence with rank and file Republicans, particularly conservative Republicans. So Speaker Johnson finds himself in a difficult position here. But it's also important to say, Kristen, when we talk about this and we talk about the decision that he has made, he's made a decision to govern. He's made a decision based on principle, and he's made it clear that he's prepared to deal with those consequences. So whatever they may be, even though right now it doesn't look like a very positive outcome for Speaker Johnson, he seems comfortable with the path that he has chosen.
Yeah, he says even if it costs him his job, they should get Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan aid passed. Let's talk about the Democrats. How are they viewing this? Because the difference, it seems to me, between Speaker Mike Johnson and former Speaker Kevin McCarthy is that Mike Johnson has reached across the aisle and formed relationships with some Democrats who may, in fact, be willing to bail him out. Now, the optics, the practicality, as you say, gets very complicated if he's leading a coalition government. But is there a chance that Democrats bail him out?
I think you're absolutely right about that, Kristen. Personalities matter, especially in the halls of Congress. And the one thing about Mike Johnson is that he has no personal enemies. He may have political enemies, people that don't necessarily agree with him on policy. But as a human being, most people tend to like him. And so that at least opens the door for the conversation for a handful of Democrats to say that they would be willing to risk the political capital in order to save him. But I also think it's very important for us to keep in the back of our minds that that is no guarantee. Democrats would be risking a lot by allowing a Republican speaker to continue on in the speakership. Yes, they're very happy with him that he was willing to bring this aid package to the floor. But there's a whole host of issues that are going to be in front of Congress after we get through this foreign aid package. There's the whole issue of funding the government in the fall, the Farm Bill, the FAA reauthorization. And then don't forget, there's the certification of an election in 2024. Mike Johnson would preside over all of that if Democrats allow him to continue to hold on to the gavel. So I think this is no guarantee.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.